Hi guys! Today we are going to talk about 5 tips to make your cooking better than it's ever been before. You might already know some of these things, but some of them are things that I've learned along the way, and it really helps to make anything that you're making way better. So the first thing we're going to talk about is getting yourself a good meat thermometer. One of the first things that I learned about cooking is that it's just not good when you overcook meats. And unfortunately, a lot of people overcook meats because they want them to be safe, which is great, but an overcooked meat is just going to be dry and tough, and it's just not going to taste good. So a good meat thermometer is really going to help with this. Now this one is a digital quick read meat thermometer, and it's got a really small little kind of like needle probe here. And I love this one because it tells me what the temperature is right away. I'm not getting big holes in my meat when I temp it, and it's just really quick and easy for me to use. These are a little bit more expensive. I think this one was about $30, but it's much better than the other types of thermometers where you kind of stick it in there and wait for 2 minutes and then kind of maybe figure out what the temperature is. But even if you're just starting off with a cheaper meat thermometer, it's going to help so much, because then you can pull your meat off when it is completely cooked and safe, but not over that temperature. That is going to help your cooking just grow leaps and bounds, because the meat is still going to be juicy and delicious. Along those same lines, tip number 2 is to try using chicken thighs instead of chicken breasts. So a lot of recipes really use the boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and that's fine, but chicken breast tends to dry out quicker than a chicken thigh will. So if you are concerned about having that dry texture in your foods, a chicken thigh is going to cook up a little bit better, and it just saves better. So even if your original meal with your chicken breast is good and moist and juicy, you will find a lot of times after you've refrigerated that and you're eating the leftovers, that the meat of a chicken breast still tends to be kind of dry. So a chicken thigh really comes in and gives you that additional like juiciness, and you can still get them boneless and skinless, so they're just as easy to work with as a chicken breast. It's just a lot more juicy. There are some things that I would recommend using just chicken breast for, but most things a chicken thigh is going to be really good for. Something like if you're trying to make like a General Tso's chicken or a chicken stir fry, all of those things, the thigh is going to be really nice and juicy for you. So try that out. So my next 3 tips are going to be about seasoning, more or less, and this plays a huge part in the overall yumminess of your meals. So tip number 3 is to start off any sauce base that you are making with fresh onion and garlic. So I always have fresh onions, fresh garlic in my pantry. They last a really long time as well when you get them fresh and whole. So you don't really have to be super concerned about, I just got a bag of onions and I have to use it in a week. Normally a bag of onions from the store, we can have it around for 2 or 3 weeks and they'll still be perfectly fine. Same with garlic. As long as you're keeping it in a cool, dry place, it should be good to last you for a while. And it makes such a difference in your dishes. Almost everything that I cook, it starts off with a skillet and some butter and some chopped up onion and garlic, and that's how I start off almost all of our meals. Any type of sauce that I'm doing, whether it's a spaghetti sauce, a cream sauce, anything, gravy even, all starts off with that onion and garlic. And the thing is too, if you are not particularly a fan of strong flavors of onion and garlic, you really don't get that from adding in the fresh onion and garlic at the beginning of a sauce. Basically what happens is it kind of cooks down and the onion gets really nice and soft and the garlic kind of becomes a background flavor. So it's a good flavor stepping stone for you. It's a good starting place for flavor, but that's not the overpowering flavor that you end up with at the end of the dish. So even if you're not a big fan of onions and garlic overall, it still is a really good flavor base, and I would recommend trying it at least once and see how much better your dishes are when you start with that base of onion and garlic from the beginning. Tip number 4 is to season every component of your dish. So this is something that I just really learned recently, but it helps so much. So if you're building a dish that has a lot of different components, for example, something like a taco night. I think this is the perfect example because there's a lot of different things that go into having a taco night. And so you want to season your salsa for it. You want to season your sour cream for it. And I know that that's kind of an odd one, but it makes such a difference if you season up that sour cream with something. It can be just as simple as salt and pepper. You can add additional flavors in there that you like. You can add sriracha. Sriracha makes a great add-in. And what I love to do with my sour cream is to put some lime juice and some lime zest in there and make like a nice lime sour cream. But point being, just season all of the components of your dish. Even if you're just making a sandwich, season your tomatoes before you put them on the sandwich. It makes a difference. It really does. It really amps up those flavors. That salt really brings out the flavor of whatever you're putting it on. So when you're making a dish that isn't just one blanket thing and it involves a couple different things like a topping, even if you're just doing something that's as simple as rice with a sauce on top of it, season your rice, season your sauce, and that's going to help and make things much better. So tip number 5, my last and final tip for you, is add your high flavor notes at the end of your cooking process. What I mean by this is you will get the most bang for your buck, the most punchiness out of the flavors that you want to really come through in your cooking if you add them at the end of the cooking process. Now, I don't mean this for something like, for example, a curry. With a curry, you're really building your flavors, you're building on your flavor profiles. You don't want to dump a whole lot of paprika at the end of your cooking. But what you do want to do is for things like using cilantro, using lime, using lemon zest, using vanilla flavoring. All these things are things that you should add at the end of your cooking. So if you add them too early, they really then become part of the overall flavor complex, but they don't give you that punchiness, that vibrancy that you want out of them. Basil is another thing that's like that. So if you really want to have your top note of whatever your dish is that you're making really just kind of sing and be flavorful, like the first thing you taste when you taste that salsa, you want the lemon or the lime that you put in that, or the first thing you taste when you have lime cilantro rice is the cilantro, then you want to add those things at the very end of the cooking process. So right when you're taking it off the heat, you want to go ahead and add that in. Another thing, even in baking, vanilla is like that. So if you're making a homemade pudding, you will find, if you pay attention, if you're making a homemade vanilla pudding, it'll almost taste like nothing as you're cooking it. But then once you put that vanilla in after you've taken it off the heat, it almost magically then transforms into vanilla pudding. So those notes that you want to really sing and really be bright and poppy in your dishes, you want to add those at the end of the cooking time so that they are nice and fresh and vibrant and the top note that you taste out of that dish. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like. Please leave me any questions in the comments and have a wonderful day.